And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the NPCs weekly news live stream for the week of December 4th, 2020. In tonight's news live stream, we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch hacker who happened to get into Nintendo servers has finally been sentenced. We'll talk a little bit more about that and what else he's also been sentenced for. We've also got two big names at BioWare leaving, the head producer of Dragon Age and also one of the general managers related directly to the Mass Effect franchise. And of course, last but not least, Oscar Isaacs was also announced as the leading role in the next Metal Gear Solid, or actually the very first Metal Gear Solid movie as Solid Snake. So we're going to roll that intro for you guys and get things started. And of course, everybody knows, as we go into the news, Kyle's with me. Of course, Kyle, good evening.
What's up?
Man, we got 7 mostly video game related stories and one story about us that we're going to go ahead and get out of the way here really quick. A lot of fun stuff, actually. Kind of to talk about here, some chaotic stuff, especially in the world of things. But yeah, let's hop right into it here with our first story. Let's see, where is my thing here in OBS? I just need to map this crap out or buy an Elgato. So our first story here actually is about us. So as everything's been going on right now, we're at the end of 2020. Surprisingly, we've all made it. So kudos to all of you, especially to you too, Kyle. I'm surprised that any of us actually made it in the first place. But as we're doing that, of course, a lot of these different streaming companies are doing their end-of-year wrap-ups to show us kind of like what we've been doing and what we've been listening to. But, of course, as us being podcasters primarily, and then, of course, doing the news here off to the side, we've also been given our own metrics, too. So I figured, let's go ahead and go quickly through and do a kind of 2020 review to see how things looked for us as the NPCs. So, of course, Anchor.fm is owned by Spotify, and because of that, Spotify has the ability to see our podcast. Of course, they're able to see exactly how we distribute. Actually, they're the ones who handle the distribution, not only to their platform but all the other platforms we're on. But since they're our main source for distribution, they're able to actually aggregate a lot of these metrics here for us to show us just the exact same things that you are as a regular listener on, how much music you listen to in minutes, your top music, your top tracks, all that fun stuff. So hopping right into it, one of the biggest things about all this, though, is that we actually showed in the United States alone in this last year a 316% overall growth. Now, what this number directly relates to, not exactly sure. There's nothing that breaks down the metrics to say, hey, this is what this 316% means, or at least I don't think it did. But the cool part, though, is that we expanded outside the United States. So even though the U.S. was our main area, being that we're in the United States, we actually have been listened to in 14 countries, whether it's for a couple minutes, whether it's for the entire episode. We've gotten out there, which is a bit of a surprise. I figured that we wouldn't make it as far, as our state. So yay for us on that one for sure. And then here's kind of where some of the additional metrics come in. So it looks like we're up 999% on our hours for the year, 999% on streams, 344% on our listeners, which is cool, and then 100% up on our followers, which means that compared to last year, we made the exact same amount of followers that we did this year, which I guess necessarily isn't bad. We only started in I think May or June of 2019, and here we are at the end of 2020 now. So that's, I'm not going to argue on any of that. It's just time and patience for here too. Big one though, I think for us and Kyle, a surprise here for sure. I didn't actually expect this to be that much, but we did 75 episodes this year, even in the midst of a pandemic.
Wow.
75 episodes, and that equates to 5,164 minutes of content. So you're talking, okay, hold on. I gotta get a calculator here really quick. Okay. So if we did 5,164 minutes of content, okay, and that's 60 minutes, okay? Let's see, so 60 minutes to an hour, of course, obviously. Let's see, so 24 hours a day. We recorded about just over 3.5 days of content this year.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's 3.5 days. Does
that include our newscast and everything?
No, that does not count our news, and I honestly
Wow.
am curious to see what those metrics are like, too. But yeah, that's
We should have our news on there.
Well, if Spotify has a way to get our metrics, then absolutely, we'll make sure to include those as well. But that's where we're at on this stuff. And we don't know really where the news metrics are at right now, or what we do, because, of course, we started up the YouTube page this year. The news spun off from being a podcast to this, and really the only time Kyle and I got together for the news was like literally about a week before, I think, pandemic like lockdown restrictions came into effect. So we've been doing this now since the start of the pandemic, and yeah, we'll have to figure out what those metrics are here probably this next week. But guys,
Yeah.
for everybody that's watching us, for everybody that's listening to us here now, you know, from I'll say it for myself, for Kyle, I know Dan's not here with us anymore for the podcast, and of course Preston is not here for the news though. Thank you, of course, to all of you for listening to us, for actually listening to us. I mean, Jesus Christ, with the level of arguments about Untitled Goose Game, Way of the Warrior, Songbird. I mean, the list can go on, but thank you. Really, we
definitely appreciate your listens. Yeah,
we do. I think the 14 countries is what's going to get to me, like more than anything.
Crazy.
I think that's a big thing overall, though, is that we're actually out there, which is kind of cool. I'm hoping that 2021 nets us at least a little bit more growth going into the, especially going in. I'm hoping that we can kind of ramp things up a little bit with ourselves, and hopefully pandemic stuff starts to settle down, then we can actually get back together and start recording some of this stuff again. But yes,
right?
So thank you everybody, of course, for tuning in and listening with us as well. But now we move on to the real news. And so Kyle, you're going to start us off here actually with the news tonight. Let's talk about this. Yeah, I'm giving you the first go here. So let's talk about this story here from Games Radar. And this is actually one of the biggest news stories of the week. Dragon Age 4 executive producer leaves BioWare along with the studio's general manager. I think I had that backwards when I did the intro there, is that I think I said Mass Effect executive producer and Dragon Age general manager. So I think I had that flipped around. But yeah, talk to us about this departure from the company.
BioWare just announced the departure of two of its most senior leaders in a single announcement, though it wants to reassure fans that projects like Dragon Age 4 and the Mass Effect franchise still have a bright future. Both BioWare General Manager Casey Hudson and Dragon Age Executive Producer Mark Dara wrote letters to the community where they gave their thanks to the studio and its fans and explained that they knew it was a good time to move on. They joined a growing cadre of senior leaders that have left the studio in recent years, including James Olin, Drew Karpshin, David Gator, and Ben Irving. Arriving at this point has been an opportunity for me to reflect on my own future, and 2020 has been a year that forced us all to reimagine how we think about work and life, Hudson wrote. For me, it's been the realization that I still have tremendous energy to create, but also that I need to try something different. I'm not sure exactly what that is yet, but I know that I want to start by rediscovering my creative passion through more personal work. Hudson first joined BioWare in 1998 through his departed through the company in 2015 and rejoined as general manager in 2017 in the lead up to Anthem. Mark Dara has been with the studio even longer and has been involved with the Dragon Age franchise since its beginning. Dragon Age will be in good hands, Dara wrote. Christian Daly will be moving into executive producer role. Christian Daly is a strong leader and will provide great insight into the rest of the Dragon Age leadership who remain. This is a team that include people with a decade of experience at BioWare. I am confident that together, this is the team that can make Dragon Age the best one yet. Daly is also leading work on his next stage of Anthem's development. Gary McKay, the studio's director of development operations, will take over as interim general manager as EA EA and BioWare search for new permanent head for the studio.
So you're talking two big names at BioWare who have now left. Of course, we're in the midst of having an announcement only, 3-4 weeks, actually about 4 weeks ago, almost to the day, of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming out. And of course, a Mass Effect 5, I guess, if you want to consider it in line with Andromeda for numbering. You've got that, and then supposedly we've got a Dragon Age, what would it be, 4? I think it'd be 4.
Yeah, Dragon Age 4.
Yeah. And so supposedly we have a Dragon Age 4 reveal that's supposed to actually come up here in the next couple weeks at the Game Awards. Supposedly there's supposed to be a trailer for, or at least some sort of teaser for Dragon Age 4. So I wonder, though, especially even with all the chaos with Anthem going on, I wonder if BioWare is going to actually be okay to deliver on what they need to. I mean, it even said there, that one of them did leave the company prior to and only came back. But, with the disaster that Anthem was, and whatever resurgence there's going to be with that, I'm kind of curious to see what's going to come out of BioWare now.
Yeah, it'd be hard to say, but I feel like they've been spiraling a little bit since the two creators kind of left the company,
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about that, though,
So
especially...
that's kind of been since like 2012, is what I feel like. That's when they started having their big hang-ups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's an unfortunate thing because you've got a lot of this high quality talent that's starting to leave and go off to other ventures, and whether they're being picked away to start up their own studios, they're doing their own thing. Maybe they're going, like, as an example, Mike Morhaime, we talked about this, the founder of Blizzard, has started up that whole new studio. Is it possible that the creative direction, they could be heading that way, though, too, to make whatever the latest and greatest is going to be? Don't know. I mean, we wish them well for what they're going to do, but it's just interesting to see this exodus of high quality talent just leaving BioWare, especially on the heels of these two new games.
Right, but with a company that's put out some games that have been questionable, in the last few years, maybe they've also questioned their own work, and maybe a couple of them have said, maybe I'm not putting out the standard of work that I even want to create, and I'm seeing that affect the company and seeing that affect how I feel about the work, so I need to move on and do something else.
Yeah, and that could very well be it too. You stay in one company for so long, you might have that burnout. So that's true, especially if it's a revolving door of the same type of stuff you're doing all the time. If there isn't anything that's revolutionary or really different from what you've already been doing in the first place, I can understand some of that fatigue. That makes a lot of sense too. So,
but being that these are such big guys, it'd be cool to see them move on to, their own indie projects and see what they create there. So, yeah.
It really would be cool. Can't argue with that. So, as is the news, we carry on. We got our next story here, actually from Screen Rant. And this one is actually kind of funny. I'm surprised that I haven't come across anything yet on my PC here. But Xbox Game Pass PC glitch reveals which EA Play games are being added. A glitch has given an Xbox Game Pass subscriber an unexpected look at the upcoming integration of EA Play on the PC version of Game Pass. A glitch has spoiled the upcoming library of EA games that are coming to Xbox Game Pass through EA Play. Microsoft has relied on Game Pass for some time as being a major selling point for the new Xbox Series X and S. Now that the consoles have been released, Microsoft has been integrating more and more features into a streaming service, including brand new games and updates that add helpful features like game preloading and a coming soon page. Xbox Game Pass is one of the many video game streaming services that have been cropping up with increased frequency in the modern video game market. It's easy to understand the appeal of what has been broadly referred to as the Netflix of video games. Let's see here. God, there's a lot of boilerplate stuff here. Let's see. Where's the actual talk here? Because I read through this article and I thought it was actually pretty quick. Let's see. Here we go. As of November 10th, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate has offered subscribers the EA Play experience at no extra cost. Unfortunately, PC players have had to wait for the service, which won't be arriving on computers until later this month. However, a glitch shared by Maddie Waka 3 on Reddit via What If Gaming looks to have given fans a good idea of what to expect when the service finally does launch. The glitch gave the user an accidental early look at the EA Play library, and it's quite extensive. Major EA titles like The Sims 4, both Titanfall games, and the whole Dragon Age and Dead Space trilogies are coming to the service. The glitch prevented the user from scrolling down, so there are surely even more titles that have yet to be discovered. So that's actually kind of cool to see that we're going to be getting that slew of video games actually coming to Game Pass on PC here, especially because I think Titanfall looks great on the Series X, and I'm hoping that if it's some sort of like optimized version of it, like what you saw on the Series, like or the kind of higher quality side of it that you saw on the Series X, that it's going to look about that way on PC. You know, it's not going to be held back by anything. So I'm kind of interested to see what Titanfall 2 is going to look like on PC. You know, after all this time, and then just all that, but that's really cool, you know, that it's finally making its way to PC this soon. But that means it looks like if the glitch is already hit here now, and if they were in some type of beta program or something, they may have accidentally seen it. But that means we're probably at least a week or two off, at most.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we'll keep an eye out and I guess see exactly what comes of it. Let's see if we actually got a picture here of the bug and the actual Game Pass stuff here. So I've got the screenshot here up from Reddit. I'll go back here to actually look at it so you guys can at least see it though too. But this is actually from the PC version of the Xbox application, so we can see, of course, Titanfall, Sims, Saboteur, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Spore, which that's actually really cool. That's going to make my kids really happy because they've been asking to play that game for a while.
Man.
SimCity Complete Edition, which I don't know if that's like an original one or if that's a rehash of that microtransaction Latin, like, you know, mobile game. I think that's actually what SimCity 4 is.
Gross.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot there that definitely is pretty bleh. So let's see here. Unravel, Ultima.
Just tell them to play Planet Coaster. It's all good.
Yeah, Dead Space, Dragon Age, EA Sports games. Fee is gonna be on there too. Anthem, of course, Command and Conquer. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff there.
Ooh, Command and Conquer.
Yeah, we're gonna have to play some Command and Conquer there, Kyle.
Well, I already have the entire collection, but
well, this is the entire collection again.
You call the game. Yeah, you call the game. We could play.
I'd be game. I'd be down. So yeah, that's all coming
Let's
up
play
there.
some Generals.
All right, fair enough. I will meet you on Generals. Fine. I know I've been so out of the Command and Conquer scene like for years, so I'm gonna have to just sit there probably for a week beforehand to actually learn how to play. Please play again. But yeah, so that's what's coming down. So if you're a Game Pass subscriber, be on the lookout for that. I wouldn't be surprised if we're another couple weeks out. I don't think there's a actual date that's been announced for EA Play on PC. Let's see, EA Play Game Pass PC. I don't think there's been a date set here. It just says December 2020. So I wonder if they might aim for closer to around Christmas break, when Christmas breaks are starting for college, for your public schools. So that way there's more people at home that are actually playing these games. So that's actually really cool. Now we move on to some more fun stuff. Kyle, we need to talk about this one because we're actually on the edge of this game finally releasing, unless they change something up here.
My God, is it really going to happen?
I know, right?
I hope it does.
I know, right? So this story comes to us from PC Gamer. And so Kyle's going to talk to us about this. Is CD Projekt Red warns against streaming Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay before release. Streamers who reveal gameplay ahead of launch will suffer the consequences. So Kyle, what is CD Projekt Red saying about this?
Cyberpunk 2077 has already leaked in November. A PS4 version of the game found its way into the wild, resulting in a bad 20-minute stream of, as Jody put it, some stoned bros taking over the top instead of playing. But as the release date grows closer, the likelihood of the larger leak and pre-release streams that might actually be worth watching continue to grow. Faced with that, CD Projekt Red issued a warning to streamers today: don't do it. We're getting closer and closer to the launch, and chances are some of you will get your hands on a copy of Cyberpunk 2077 before release date, the studio said in an alarmingly yellow message posted on Twitter. However difficult this might be for us to achieve, our ambition is for gamers all across the world to have the same spoiler-free experience at the same time the game releases. This is why we kindly ask you not to stream, let's play, or release any similar content before December 9th, 12 p.m. Central Eastern, 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will send MaxTac, you know, the guys who take down videos, after everyone who does. MaxTac in Cyberpunk universe is not a squad of unpaid copyright lawyers, but a cyber SWAT paramilitary branch of the police that's deployed to take down rampaging cyber psychos. They are the bottom line in combat police officers, according to the Cyberpunk wiki. Although it also notes that many MaxTac officers are borderline cyber psychos themselves. It's kind of a fire with fire approach to law enforcement. Obviously, you're not going to have this guy kicking in your door and putting three in your head if you stream Cyberpunk 2077 early. But the implication is that CD Projekt Red will be watching and will not hesitate to drop the hammer. That presumably means takedown and DMCA strike, and then likely ruination, or at least for a while, of any relationship with the studio. The warning ends with an amusingly dark note, or maybe it's just dark. I can't tell the difference anymore. After the date, however, we would love if you'd stream everything like there's no tomorrow. It says, it's 2020. Who knows? Maybe there isn't. Okay, then. Cyberpunk 2077 is set to come out December 10th.
So we are literally
we're on the
several
cusp.
days away.
We're 6 days away.
We are 6 days away, guys. Next week, this game that was announced in 2016, or even before that.
No, it was before that. Like the first announcement was during the 360. The first, I think, official like teaser trailer was like beginning of the
my god,
Xbox, PlayStation.
May 2012.
Yeah.
May 2012. And now here we are 8 years later.
8 years later. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well,
Pretty
here we are,
crazy.
guys. Yeah, no kidding.
I do know that one of the major culprits, from what I understand, was Best Buy, that was sending out collector's edition copies and just regular copies out to everyone that had them pre-ordered, essentially breaking street date. So
yeah, I saw a lot of that too.
I heard that they were one of the main offenders, but I can understand that with, you know, some of the holiday traffic and stuff, they were probably worried that, you know, they weren't going to hit the release date if people had like 1 day shipping or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I just hope people heed CD Projekt Red's warning. It's just kind of a common courtesy, especially in the game world. Don't ruin anything. Give it like 2 weeks at least, you know, guys.
Yeah, we're going to see reviews coming up here soon. We're going to see a lot of Let's Plays on things. As soon as this drops anyway, you know, Twitch and YouTube gaming are just going to be filled with this like streaming of this game, especially because of the streamer mode that's baked into it now too. So yeah, just so just don't be a dick about it. Don't. Seriously, don't. But I haven't bought it yet. Like, I didn't pre-order it at all. I just figured I'm going to pick it up probably digitally. I haven't decided if I want to get it on Series X or if I'm going to get it on PC. I haven't actually figured out what platform I want it on yet. I might go console just for more of the like kind of stability in regards to like graphics. Once I actually see some more post-launch gameplay, just to make sure that, you know, I'm going to pick it up on the right platform.
So here's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if it's one of the ones that's going to be cross-platform if you pick it up through the Windows Store,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that's typically only with like first-party Microsoft titles. But there are some that if you buy them that way, you get both copies. So I might pick it up through the Microsoft Store on PC, but I'm going to do my research.
Okay. That may
I
not
don't
be a
know.
bad
I
way.
was seeing some interesting stuff on it, especially with the cars and whatnot. I'm kind of excited.
But are you going to pick it up launch day or are you going to wait?
I don't know. I probably will wait. I have so much stuff that's in my back catalog right now. I
Yeah.
don't know if I can stand another long open world RPG type game.
Yeah, which is why it still confounds me that it's like Preston went from beating Watch Dogs Legion right into Assassin's Creed Valhalla and is still,
Yeah.
playing through it. It's like you just really want to torture yourself. I mean, you've got Cyberpunk now coming up too. It's like, are you sure you're going to be able to survive playing that one? So I mean, I get it. I do. I'm not playing any big story games, but like I sympathize. So yeah, so that's why it's like
Well,
Hmm.
I kind of went from Ghost of Tsushima to Watch Dogs because I spent so long on Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then now I'm trying to finish Watch Dogs 2 because I've never finished that one. But I've always said that I enjoy that one more. But as I play it more, I feel like all the Watch Dogs games have been lacking. So I don't know. We'll have to talk about it at some point, I'm sure.
Definitely, we will. I mean, especially with the way this year went, with the number of story games we actually had, and the amount of time everybody had to play story
Yeah.
games too.
But yeah, I think I need a just crazy something that's not story based right now. So
Yeah,
I
and
probably won't pick it up right away.
see, and I finally got past that point I was stuck at last night with Doom Eternal. So
Oh yeah.
I finally passed that point, but now I'm stuck somewhere else. And so it's like if I could beat that this year, just to be done with it, for the sake of it being a 2020 game, then I'll feel definitely much better. But man, I'm glad I finally got past that point. So I understand the back catalog part, and it's like, well, I got the Series X now, which I'll fully admit I actually have not touched it all this week. And
Wow.
I just I will be perfectly honest, it has been a very off week for doing a lot of things here at home. But no, I've got the back catalog as well too, and because EA Play is on there, like I want to get through the Titanfall 2 campaign. I need to beat Jedi Fallen Order. I still want to finish up Halo 3 ODST from the Master Chief Collection. Forza Horizon, of course, continue to play that, and then of course anything else that comes my way though too, because just like you, I've got a back catalog, and EA Play and Game Pass really kind of fill in the rest of that catalog too.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
plenty of that to carry on. And as we carry on into our next story, this one is I don't know if I want to say fun. Swift, or not even swift justice, but justice being served here on this one. So this story comes to us from Polygon. A Nintendo hacker sentenced to 3 years in prison for the Nintendo hack and possession of child pornography. Fantastic. He pleaded guilty in
Wow.
January. So Ryan Hernandez, the 21-year-old California man who hacked into Nintendo's internal network and leaked information about the Nintendo Switch before its launch, has been sentenced to 3 years in prison. Hernandez pleaded guilty in January to federal charges related to the hacking incident and possession of child pornography. Hernandez's charges are related to a 2016 phishing attempt wherein he gained access to Nintendo's secrets, including pre-release information about the anticipated Nintendo Switch console, according to a news release from the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Washington. FBI investigators originally contacted Hernandez in October 2017 about his hacking attempts when he was a minor. Hernandez promised that he'd stop hacking. He didn't. Hernandez continued to hack the Nintendo servers and leak information that he found there, such as confidential information about various popular video games, gaming consoles, and developer tools, according to the news release. FBI agents searched his home in 2019 and discovered thousands of private Nintendo files, along with more than 1,000 pieces, holy shit, of child pornography in a file labeled bad stuff. Prosecutors in this case recommended 3 years, which is what he sentenced to serve today for the charges related to hacking and possession of child pornography. Following his release from prison, Hernandez will be required to complete 7 years of supervised release and to register as a sex offender. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, I swear. Oh, by the way, I don't know why. I actually feel really proud of
I
this.
mean, at least he labeled the folder and made it real easy to for investigators to find all the incriminating evidence all in one spot with the bad stuff.
A-
So
Absolutely. I think what I really find interesting though is that it's like, did he have a folder named like, it's like, did it have like different categories things for like good stuff, bad stuff, worse stuff, and then
the
uh,
gray stuff,
the gray area. Yeah, but I got to do this. I got to zoom
yeah,
this in. I don't know why. So about 45 minutes to an hour before the news stream always starts up, I always spend the time making the thumbnails, of course, that you see on here. Whether I grab the thumbnail from a media repository as it relates like directly to the developer of a game or something, or if I'm stitching stuff together. I got to zoom this in. I don't know why. I'm just very proud of this thumbnail for some reason. I don't know why. I used it. I used the Nedry
you
icon last
like
year.
that Jurassic Park icon, don't
Well, because
you?
that's what he's doing. I mean,
You've used that like 3 times. You used that for the Capcom one too.
I did, but I took a little bit more effort to use the pixel specific text here. Downloading Project NX 50% complete. Add a little bit of distortion to the picture of the Nintendo Switch. And of course it's Nedry, so everybody knows who he is. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I was a little proud. I just wanted to make sure everybody could see that a little bit better. That was just me. Sue me. No, please don't. But anyway, so I I remember when there was Switch stuff that was actually leaked out, but for the life of me, I don't remember actually really seeing any of the leak stuff back then, because the Switch released in 2017, at the beginning of 2017. But I don't remember really seeing a lot of Nintendo Switch hack stuff at that point in time. Like I don't remember seeing
Yeah,
anything
I guess I
beforehand.
don't either.
I don't know. Maybe it was obscure stuff like, those things that people thought it looked more like a Wii U, more like the actual Wii U tablet than it did, what the Switch is now.
Right.
I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to do some research on that, just to see what that material looked like, because I'm sure it's still out there. But I can't recall at that point in time seeing anything about it. So, but yeah, but I mean, he's in jail now, so don't like if you're gonna hack a company, that's one thing, but don't fuck around with child pornography. Don't do that. That's
Yeah,
that's
or just don't do
that's
either in the first place. That's bad.
well, okay. There is ethical hacking.
I mean,
Okay, I mean if you're finding a way
that
to
is
get into a
true, but
system
I
and
mean,
you provide the
obviously,
information back,
one of these things is obviously worse than the other,
yes,
i.e., the child
yes,
pornography.
that is significantly worse than finding out about the Nintendo Switch. I agree.
But let's not discount uh, corporate hacking is also bad, but not nearly on as profound of a level.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, Kyle,
Yeah.
I made sure that this story was going to you because I know how much of a Sega geek you are.
Oh yes.
So you're going to talk to us about this one here. This one comes to us from Nintendo Life, and this one is talking Sega just showed off a prototype handheld for the first time ever, and it is a bit of a surprise to actually see something like this exist. So Kyle, talk to us about Project Venus.
Sega turned 60 this year, and the company has been celebrating the fact in a wide range of ways, one of which is a special video history lesson which runs through the company's home hardware lineage. This particular seminar was held by Sega producer and manager Hiroyuki Miyazaki and takes us from the early days of 1983's SG-1000 release in Japan on the same day as Nintendo's considerably more popular Famicom, right the way up to Sega's final home console, the Dreamcast. During the talk, Miyazaki goes into detail on how Sega was fond of using the name of planets as the intentional code names for its systems. The exception being the Saturn, which retained its code name for the way up to the launch. He speaks about the Sega Nomad, a portable Mega Drive system which was released in North America in 1995, and Sega's final attempt to wrestle control of handheld market away from Nintendo Game Boy Spoiler, it didn't work, but the machines is great if a little battery hungry. A nice surprise was that Miyazaki showed off a prototype of the console that has, up until now, never been seen to the public. Still retaining the Venus codename, the prototype Nomad is rather fetching and arguably more attractive than the oddly shaped system we actually got. Uh, what is that slanting top section all about anyway? This year, Sega paid tribute to the most famous handheld console, the Game Gear, by releasing the Micro, of course, earlier this year. And it was exclusive to Japan, damn it.
I know you're gonna have to get one imported from Japan, Kyle. So,
I
but yeah,
know.
I got the video up here, of course, of it. You know,
I want one of these.
showing off the Venus and that. Of course, you know the Nomad itself actually used regular cartridges.
Yeah.
For that point in time, you know, like it was actually being able to take your home console on the go. So hey, they beat Nintendo to that one. So good on them for being able, you know, to best the Switch, I guess, in one way or another, you know, that early on. But of course, you know, it didn't work out very well, and here we are. And then of course the Venus, which yeah, very interesting to
Yeah, no, definitely more sleek than the Nomad.
mhm.
Yeah, I want one. I don't know what it does, but or if there's anything that would have ever, as far as Sega released, as far as a tech demo for it. But
Mhm.
I'd like to get my hands on it and try out like a tech demo on it.
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And that would be neat itself, but of course, because this is the first time this is actually being seen out there, I'm sure there's probably no more than maybe like 10 or 20 of these that actually exist. Um,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But I knew you were gonna like that one. I knew you were gonna enjoy seeing that part there. I think the Nomad though actually looks really cool, and I think the premise of actually being able to take your home games with you, you know, wherever you can without actually having to drag around an actual console is cool. And the fact that the Nomad actually had an S video output that you could then take and run into a TV was pretty on point. You know?
Yeah, but they ate up batteries like crazy.
Oh, they did. I know. Yeah, because what the Game Gear took six batteries, six double
Six.
A's. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely a lot. I never had one. I always was a Game Boy kid, so I only had, you know, it was only two double A's per, you know, from the Game
Oh,
Boy
me
Pocket,
too.
the color and that. Yeah. But
My parents found out about the S6 battery thing because I think it was my cousins got a Game Gear to share between the three of them, and the parents ended up taking it and selling it. I think because they were going through so much like in batteries yearly, it was just insane.
isn't that awesome?
Yeah, if you didn't have the wall adapter for that thing, it was hard to play.
Oh yeah, I know. And I think one of the cool things though about the Game Gear that I remember as a kid, I didn't have one, but my friend did. He had the actual analog TV tuner cartridge for it, so you could actually pop that
Oh
in, and
yeah.
yeah, you could actually pop it in, and you would use a little dial on it to be able to actually grab over the air TV. So there was a time, what was it? I think he was staying the night at my house, and he had actually brought the Game Gear and that with, and we didn't have to leave my room for anything, but we were able to actually watch like Fox Kids and WB Kids in the morning because we just used the
That's
analog
pretty
tuner on
cool.
there to just watch cartoons right off of the Game Gear. It didn't work the
I mean,
best. It was still a little staticky, but it was just like, yeah, I could watch TV now with this thing.
and of course you're huddled around this little, Game Gear, but it's still the novelty of it was nice.
Oh, I agree. It definitely was a novelty for sure. But you know, since if you have a Game Gear and you have one of those analog cartridges to be able to actually do the TV tuning, you can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
Analog signals are gone, so you're not gonna be
Right.
able to do it. But a couple comments here on the Facebook chat. So from Sean, this is going back to our Nintendo Life article about the Nintendo hacker and the being arrested in that and charged for the child pornography. Just says something to keep in mind as he was a minor. If it was a pic that he took of himself, it could be labeled as child pornography. So That's also very true to consider, is that if it is someone taking
Yeah.
pictures of themselves, especially at that young age, it can be labeled as such, even if it is yourself. So it's another thing to be aware of course, too. And then Alex on our story here about the Sega Venus saying picking up their old trend of using. Venus picking up their old trend of using planet names. Yeah, absolutely. I know that
Yeah.
the video itself that's in that article, and of course you can actually go find it on there too, is like 23 minutes long. And again, it goes through the entire history of Sega hardware. So you're talking from the very beginning up until the very end with the Dreamcast. So if you want to
Well,
kind
and I
of,
had heard if you watched the original video on the original like output link, there
Mhm.
was a little quiz you could take and stuff afterwards at too. So I don't know.
That's kind of cool. Huh.
Yeah, but the quiz is probably in Japanese if you watch it from the original outlet. So I
Yeah, and
guess that is one thing to be mindful of.
yeah, the only thing you can hope for is that either someone has actually gone in and added their own translation in captions, or
Hmm.
Google's auto translate has actually made captions that are easy enough to follow. So there's also that too. Now, in the grand scheme of relics and things that, I mean, the Venus probably should have existed in more of like a consumer form, but now we're hearing things that probably shouldn't have existed. We move on to our second to last story of tonight, and this one actually like shocked the crap out of me when I actually had this come up in my newsfeed. This one comes to us from Engadget. The lost Superman PlayStation game has appeared in public. Superman 64 is a 1999 Nintendo 64 title that has the unfortunate reputation as being one of the worst games ever made. Now, the lost PlayStation version of that very same, very dreadful game has been posted online. The original Superman 64 was designed by French developer Titus Interactive, with the PlayStation port handled by its US subsidiary Blue Sky Software. But when Warner Brothers pulled Titus' license to use its IP for probably understandable reasons, the port was canceled. In a lengthy post on, of all places, really, for me, that surprised me, was DeviantArt. A user going by the name of Richard Mandel says that they won a copy of the game in an eBay release or eBay auction in 2013. They say that this is not a leak, this is a release, but they held off on posting it due to some scandal in the rare games community at the time. According to Frank Cifaldi, founder of the Video Game History Foundation, the files are dated 8 months later than the demo version, which was already in the public domain. Naturally, to make this work, you need to run an emulator, but be warned, if you try to run an unreleased port of Superman 64, you may wind up actually playing Superman 64. So that means that if the amount of files that were on here though are older than the ones that were in the demo release of what would have been on the PlayStation, then that means that this is more likely than not some sort of like almost near probably golden release, which is kind of cool to say the least. But
Yeah.
seriously though, why won't this game just die? Like it's a surprise to actually see that this was going to be going to PlayStation in the first place. I didn't even know that was the case. I thought this was a one and done Superman thing, like Superman on
I
the
wonder if
N64.
it was going to be like a different game, because that was during an era where, a lot of times if games came out on multiple consoles, they were entirely different releases.
Mm-hmm. That's also possible
So
too.
it makes me wonder if the game would have been different, if it would have been more enjoyable or enjoyable at all.
I probably imagine that if it's a port to the PlayStation, probably not. I'm gonna say that
No.
game is cursed, no matter where you take it. It needs to just be buried in a landfill next to ET, but that's not up to me. That's up
Yeah,
to someone else.
probably.
Yeah. So, speaking of, well, actually, I don't even know how to transition to that one. I was going to try to use something, but then like landfill, it's like, no, this doesn't have anything to do with a landfill, and this is far away from being a landfill. This is like heaven in one form or another. So this is our last story of tonight, and this is actually what I'm rather curious about to see how this is actually going to fare. But Kyle, round us out here for the evening talking about this story from Deadline. Oscar Isaac to star as Solid Snake in Sony's Metal Gear Solid movie.
Sony's long-awaited Metal Gear Solid adaptation looks to have gained some major momentum, as sources tell Deadline that Oscar Isaac is attached to play Solid Snake in the film, which is currently in development at Sony Pictures, with Jordan Voight Roberts on board to direct. The film is based on the Metal Gear Solid video game created by Hideo Kojima and produced by Konami. The script is written by Derek Connolly. Avi Arad is producing. Peter Kang is the executive overseeing for the studio. The game was first launched on the PlayStation in 1998 and followed Snake, a soldier who infiltrated a nuclear weapons facility to neutralize the terrorist threat from Foxhound, a renegade special forces unit. The game has received acclaimed on many fronts, and its storytelling that has a cinematic feel always made it seem like a movie adaptation was inevitable. Given Isaac's extremely busy schedule, a production's start date is still unknown, but his involvement makes the property a high priority for the studio going forward. As for Isaac, Metal Gear Solid could give him another major franchise, having already starred in the most recent Star Wars franchise. Even as the industry slowly gets back into production due to COVID-19 pandemic, Isaac has been busy setting his future slate in the recent months. He is set to star in HBO's Scenes from a Marriage opposite Jessica Chastain, followed by playing the title role in Marvel's Moon Knight for Disney+. Isaac will next be seen in a much anticipated release of Dune and Paul Schrader's The Card Counter. He is also set to star and produce the adaptation of Brian K. Vaughan's Ex Machina comic retitled The Great Machine, and star in Barry Levinson's Francis and The Godfather alongside Jake Gyllenhaal.
Wow.
Isaac is reported by WME Inspired Entertainment and Mitch Smelkinson at GGSSC. Voight Roberts is repped by UTA manager Tom Lastly at 3 Arts and attorneys Alan Wormer and Andy Gawker.
So I don't know. Like I went back and looked through pictures of stuff to see kind of like, you know, Snake's development and Snake's history, just to kind of see what you know, like the way he's evolved. And if this is based on Metal Gear Solid, obviously we're talking about Solid Snake anyway. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see exactly how that's going to fit. You know, and how that's actually going to play out. I mean, of course, I know that the character was kind of a mix of kind of looking like, oh God, why can't I remember the actor's name now? Played Snake in the, in those other movies. God damn it. Why can't I remember his name? What was it? Fuck, now I gotta look.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, thank you. God damn it, I knew I was gonna forget his name. Yeah, he was modeled partially after Kurt Russell, but then of course because he was voiced by David Hayter, he kind of took on a lot of the look of what David Hayter was, or what, you know, at least at that point in time too.
Have you ever seen David Hayter?
Yeah, I thought he had a lot of that look though too.
I don't know.
Let me look. If you go back and look at some of those younger pictures,
I kind of hope he
especially,
has the voice. Like, or at least he can kind of imitate the voice. Because for me, that's a big part of what Snake is. You know, and Metal Gear is always a game of questions. Hi D, Metal Gear, CQC.
I hope he can pull it off. He's probably gonna have to chain smoke like a motherfucker though to actually be able to get that voice down though, for sure.
Right.
But it's interesting though, just to kind of see at least that this movie is actually going ahead. We've got the Uncharted movie, of course, that's moving ahead now with Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake in some form, whether it's a younger Nathan Drake or a little bit older, like, or just kind of getting up there. I don't know.
That one's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's more the look of the actors.
I've heard a lot of
like,
people say negative things, but
my thing is that it's like I'll watch the movie, I'll go and see it. My only concern on things when it comes to like video games and that is that you play a lot of the video games. You've got like the characters right there set in your head. I mean, like you look at our thumbnail here, you can see Solid Snake, of course, next to Oscar Isaac anyway. So the problem that you're running into is that it's like you've played these games for so long, you've got an idea of what these characters look like that will it ruin some of the immersion, or will the makeup and effect teams actually be that good to make them look, just like they should? Just like we had seen them in the movie. So, or in the video game, excuse me. But yeah, very interesting stuff though. But yeah, we got at least a slew of video game movies coming down the line. So Alex is following up here from our Superman story. Says there's actually another Superman 64 sort of on Commodore 64. I'm not going to count that one. And then of course said the cover of the original MSX game seems to have been inspired by what is that? Michael Biehn in the Terminator. So I guess you're talking specifically about the actor who played Kyle Reese, which actually I think that was the case if I remember seeing that properly. Which, yeah,
sense.
Yeah. Which I think that was actually right. I think I remember I was watching something video game history related that had brought that part up. But with all that said, guys, that's actually it for us on the news tonight. Actually, rather quick. We're under an hour. Hey, look at that.
Hey,
we did good there, Kyle.
I'm surprised you didn't. I know we kind of missed it. It was more of last week news, but there was some information, I guess, that with the Series X, you can turn it into developer mode. You pay $20, and apparently people are running RetroArch to play their old catalog of games that they of course own. But PS2 and GameCube and Dreamcast games, so maybe that's worth checking out if you don't have anything to play.
Actually, we'll talk about it here really quick then. So I'll bring it up here. So I went and found this. This actually was from Monday, and this is from The Verge. Enterprising developers are emulating PS2 games on the Xbox Series S and X. Developers have now made it possible to emulate PS2 games on the Xbox Series X and S using the RetroArch emulator, something that the PlayStation 5, a successor to the PlayStation 2, can't. Thanks to the Xbox Series X and S console's developer mode, the emulation software can be added as a universal Windows application, allowing users to download a retail version of the emulation software directly to their console without tricky workarounds, so players don't have to wait for a re-release to play an older favorite. While RetroArch is able to emulate several different consoles, the compatibility for running PS2 games using the PCS X2 core is particularly notable because of how limited Sony's PlayStation 5 is when it comes to backward compatibility compared to the Xbox. The new console is only natively backwards compatible with the PlayStation 4 games, with some caveats, and Sony currently only offers the option to play PS3 and PS2 games using its PS Now game streaming service. It's worth mentioning that Microsoft doesn't officially support this kind of emulation, and PCSX2 support is still a work in progress. But the early results with RetroArch are exciting. Despite the limits imposed by a cap on file sizes, PS2 games do run at almost the same quality as they did on the original console. So I'll bring up this video here, which this is interesting, to say the least.
So one thing to keep in mind with this, with the RetroArch, you are running in developer mode, which once you pay the $20, you can swap in between developer mode and regular mode at any time. But when you're in developer mode, you cannot play games. You are locked in developer mode until you swap it back, just in the settings menu. And I'm going to say the developer mode does partition off only, I believe it's 7 or 8 gigs. So you are limited to your space a little bit.
Okay.
But, I mean, if you are playing a retro catalog, 7 or 8 gigs might be plenty to get a fair amount of games on there. So
I just find it funny that they were able to get a PlayStation 2 emulator working on an Xbox Series X and Series S and do better at backwards compatibility with this console for a completely different console. It's awesome to see that was actually able to be done.
Yeah.
I don't know of many people who would actually go out and do something like this in the first place, that want to play anything like this, but the fact that at least it opens it up is pretty cool. So Can't really argue with that though. I think that actually
Yeah,
looks
so
really.
if you are bored with your current games, you might check out developer mode. Maybe you might fancy writing yourself some code too. So I
Or
don't know. There's
yeah.
always that.
And if you're that person who really wants to play God of War or Ico or anything on a an Xbox, instead of on a PlayStation, then your opportunity's there now, guys. Go play some of that.
Just
And
of course, make sure you have the copy.
yes, piracy is a problem. So yes, make sure that your copy is legitimate. Yeah. Anyway,
But that being said, yeah, I figured I did want to touch on that since that was something kind of neat earlier in the week. So
yeah,
and kind of late last week as well.
yeah, I know I had seen something about this, but I just the way that the way that this week has gone for me, and today being like really the crux of everything to go wrong. Yeah, I'm not surprised I missed that part. But anyway, guys, so then we'll make that 9 stories there, and we're still under an hour. So thanks everybody for catching us here on the weekly news live stream. Of course, the big thing is that we are in the end of the year run. So as you guys noticed, we only had 1 episode this week, but we are now moving into our game of the year. All of the year topic episodes are coming up right now. So we're going to be skipping the What Do You Play In podcast episodes on Tuesdays. So every Tuesday and Thursday, at least through I believe the first week of the new year, are going to be of the year podcasts. So this week, let's see, what is it that we've actually got on the agenda here? Let me look here again. So for this coming week in Game of the Year or of the Year stuff, we've got Best New Game and Best Art Direction coming down the line. So make sure on Tuesday to check out Best New Game and Thursday to check out Best Art Direction as well. So make sure you guys are all set and ready to go for that one because it definitely is going to be a fun time for us as we summarize 2020 in video games. Besides that, of course, though, I don't know. I don't know what else is going on, to be perfectly honest with you. We're at the end of the year. There's family stuff going on. I still like it. Kyle, I got to ask you, do you know anybody that has one of those cheap, like, smartphone gimbals where, you can put it on there when you're filming so you don't, like, it reduces the camera shake and all that?
Oh, geez, for a smartphone?
Yeah, well, they make them where you can, like, flip out the attachments for them so you can have a phone being held in it or a GoPro or some other type of camera. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I've done some B-roll footage shots of the Series X to do my own review on it, and that camera is shaky as hell.
No.
So I need some sort of gimbal or something to help bring that down. But I'm going to try at least here before the end of the year to have a review of the Xbox Series X up, just because it's like we're not some big game publisher or not game publisher. We're not some big game news company. We're not some big company or anything where we get these things in advance. A lot of people had been playing on the Series X for weeks or even, a month or beyond, on that before anything had hit actually like consumer level stuff. So, as us, of course, we got to take our time to play on these new consoles and actually give you guys a better idea of stuff. Plus, we haven't done a hardware review yet. So if I can get this done, this will be our first hardware review and a good way, I guess, to roll out 2020. So be on the lookout for that on our YouTube page as well. Of course, yeah. With all that said, though, again, because I'm rambling on here, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Check out the podcast this week as we start the best of stuff. Kyle, as always, thank you for joining me via Discord. You and your not necessarily sick self, but COVID sucks. I know you don't have it, but still, all the fun there with everything.
Yeah.
So thanks for being here, dude. And as always, thank you for checking us out. We will catch you guys all in the next stream. Later.
Yeah. Later, guys.